Hello, this is your host, Austin Hopkins, and welcome to the Introvert Leader Podcast. Welcome to episode 19. Happy to have you guys here today. We are talking about office politics without losing your soul. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes, here's what I've been into recently. Music-wise, Drake dropped a new album last Friday, and I'm really liking it so far. I'm a big Drake fan, love all of his albums he's put out in the past, and this one's good. For All the Dogs is what it's called, and favorite tracks so far are going to be Virginia Beach, Polar Opposites, and I'm really digging Drew a Picasso. So those are the ones I've kind of been into so far, been having it on repeat. I love Drake's music, so it's hard for me to not like any new album he puts out. But first 2 or 3 listens, big fan so far. Moving on, I recently watched the David Beckham documentary on Netflix with the wifey. And I got to tell you, I know very little about soccer and didn't really know a ton about David Beckham, but it was pretty interesting, actually. Yeah, it was kind of cool to kind of see his progression from kind of a kid playing this sport into the megastar he became, to kind of watch how he went through that, as he had a family and, kind of went against adversity and stuff like that. So I really liked it. It was entertaining. So even if you're into sports or not, I think you'd enjoy it. So it was really, really good. My wife is a big Posh Spice fan. So for all of you ladies out here who like the Spice Girls, I think you might just like it for that reason as well. And then moving on, big updates for me. So guys, today is the day I'm excited to announce STS Coaching is launching. So as of today, it's live, it's ready to go. And I'm just really, really excited to announce that we're going to be able to help folks with their career. So really, STS Coaching is really focused on career and leadership development. So if you want to navigate your career with more confidence, if you want to figure out what makes you unique, if you want to lean into what makes you unique to find success, that's the kind of stuff that we're here to help with. So me and my buddy Kyle, my business partner Kyle, we're very excited to launch that. We have built a really cool website with the help of Launch Guide and my buddy Matt Holmes. So special shout out to him. And we have a great website and we have some really amazing offerings. We've tested it out with lots of folks to see what works and what doesn't work. And today's launch day. So I'm kind of on cloud 9 as we announce that and we start helping folks. In fact, we've already got some folks this week that have reached out that are interested in taking some next steps and working with us. So really, really excited about the fast start. So was pumped to announce that. And the website is sts-coaching.com. So check it out. Tell me what you think. Give it a peruse and would love to help out if you have any questions. And honestly, just want to be here to add value. So the same kind of stuff you hear in the podcast, that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to be going in depth with folks in the coaching business. So really excited to announce that. And to wrap up, I want to give you guys a quote that really sets the tone for today. So here's the quote by Dale Carnegie. When dealing with people, remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. And I like this one because today's about office politics, and office politics isn't only about logic. There's definitely some logic there, but really it's about emotions. It's about people and the dynamic between people. So let's dive right in. Why discuss office politics? To be honest with you, I got to start with saying I kind of hate the term office politics. I kind of prefer office dynamics because really it's not politics. It's more of the dynamics between people. And office politics or dynamics is a super important aspect of your career, right? I used to think I didn't really have to worry about this kind of stuff, but I realized if I plan to move up the corporate ladder, get more responsibilities, it's going to be important, right? And it's going to be important to have a plan. So really that's what I want to talk today about is office politics, but most importantly, how do you play the game, quote unquote, without losing your soul? Because for me, I didn't want to play office politics if that meant I had to do unethical things, if I had to treat people the wrong way. So my hope is by the end of this episode, you're going to have a little bit of a better understanding of what office politics are, what are the things that you can do to navigate it, how do you overcome challenges, and then I'll hit you with a little story that kind of is an example of some office politics that I experienced in my career. So starting from the beginning, understanding office politics, what is it? So it'd be cool, it'd be really neat if we lived in a world where hard work was the only way to get noticed or move up, right? Unfortunately, that isn't the case. There's this hidden dynamic that exists in most companies that involves power dynamics, social interactions, chess moves, basically things happening underneath the surface that aren't sometimes even talked about. And many folks view office politics like it's the politics in our country, right? They figure that maybe if they cheat or lie or control their way to the top, they're going to find success. But unfortunately, many of those folks end up achieving what they desire only to look around and realize no one really respects them, right? So they achieve what they think they want, and then they look around and realize, man, maybe no one respects me because of the way I got there. So my goal is to help you not be one of those people. I want you to be able to navigate the dynamics within your office, within your organization with integrity. And I want you to be able to do it in a way that allows you to put your head on your pillow at the end of the night and sleep knowing you did it the right way. So let's start with navigating office politics with integrity. The first thing you need to know about office politics is that the most effective and sustainable approach is one of integrity. You don't have to put others down, lie, cheat, steal credit, or gossip. You don't have to do those things to get ahead in your career. And in fact, I'm going to make the case by the end of this episode that those are the things that will actually hurt you in your career versus if you do the opposite. So the first step, right? This is not step number one. This is the first thing you got to do is you got to decide what are you going to stand for in your career. If you make a decision to act with integrity and allow your work and relationships to stand for themselves, you're going to be happier and more fulfilled. If you don't make that decision, right? If you wait till something comes up later, or if you don't take the time up front to make a conscious effort to have a way of doing business that's ethical and that has integrity, you're going to be tempted when bad situations pop up. It's just going to happen, right? We're humans. So things are going to come up that are going to put you in weird situations at work where you don't really know if you should try the easy way out, and you might be tempted to try some shady shit. So, for example, let's say you worked on a project with a couple of other folks, right? You're at work, you're working on a project. You weren't the leader of this project, but you helped, you supported, right? And after the project wraps up, you're walking down the hallway and an executive comes up to you and says, "Hey man, I wanted to give you some praise and thanks for leading that project. You guys killed it." In that moment, you could take the praise, right? And you could say, "Oh, it was my pleasure. I did a great job leading it. The team helped, but it was really me kind of, running charge on it." Or you could take a second and mention that you actually didn't lead the project, but you supported Derek throughout, right? You can make sure that it's still known you added a lot of value, but you weren't the leader of it, right? In that moment, you could take the easy way out and you could just take the praise, or you could be honest. For me, I think it's better to be honest, right? In the moment, you may even think, maybe it shows weakness to say that. I would actually make the case it shows the opposite, because the person you're talking to is going to realize, oh, wow, this person's honest. And I believe having a reputation of honesty and integrity is so much more effective in the long run. So commit to the harder but more effective path of integrity. So we talked a little bit on integrity. I want to transition and talk about building relationships. So the relationships that you build within your career, within your company, are going to be some of the most important things you spend your time on. They're going to last far longer than projects or new initiatives. They're going to be the things that people remember years and years after you've left the company. So building relationships at work isn't really a choice, it's a necessity. The relationships you build can help you in your current job, they can help you in future jobs, and everywhere in between. And again, long after you leave a company, the people you built relationships with are going to remember you. So coming from an introvert's perspective, who deals with anxiety, I was able to still build relationships in my career. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that I've done in my career to build strategic relationships throughout my time. So first off, I was selective on who I built relationships with. Some folks want to be close friends with everyone, right? They want to be close and have relationships with everyone at work. That didn't work for me, because I'm an introvert and also have a little social anxiety. So I decided to be strategic on who I built relationships with. So here are some of the folks that I built relationships with in my career. So first one, folks I could learn something from. right? Could be more senior people, people with different backgrounds, different skill sets. I wanted to be in a relationship with the people that I can learn from. And you've heard the term iron sharpens iron. So when you're around better people, when you're around the best, you become better. You become the best. So that's the first kind of people that I would like to build relationships with. The next one would be folks that I could teach. So I would actually search out people that had less seniority or less skills or less abilities. And I wanted to be able to teach them something, right? And so I would actually become close with folks that I could teach something to. And the reason I liked doing this is, number one, obviously it helped them out tremendously. They got to partner with someone that knew more than them, that could, take them under their wing. But for me, it also made me feel pretty fulfilled knowing that I was giving back and that I was proactively teaching what I had learned, because I'll tell you about it more in a later episode in the future, but I'll never forget there was a guy early on in my career that did this for me, that took me under his wing. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is the exact kind of thing that I want to do in my career. So really, he's the inspiration. And since then, I've just always made that a priority. So moving on to the next one, folks that I could help, right? So what I would do, I would actually search out folks that I thought had potential or people that were going through a struggle. And I would also try to make a friendship or a relationship with those folks, because for me, one of my greatest fulfilling aspects of my career was being able to spot potential and then foster it. There's nothing like seeing someone who maybe doesn't have the confidence, doesn't have the ability, so they think, to do something big, and you're able to pick them out and say, you know what? You are capable of more. You are able to do something that you don't think you can do. And so for me, those are the other kind of folks that I loved. I loved building relationships with folks I could help. And then the last one is I wanted to make friendships and build relationships with folks that could have influence within the organization, right? These are the type of people that can advocate for you when you're not in the room. And they're the ones who have influence. They're the ones who sometimes control promotions, access to new activities or resources. So I was strategic in finding folks that I thought had influence within the organization, and I wanted to build relationships with them. So I told you a little bit about the folks that I liked to build relationships with. Let me tell you about the folks that I didn't choose to build relationships with, because there were far more people I didn't get relationships with than there were the ones that I did. So there's three that really come to mind. Number one, folks who are cocky or arrogant. I have zero respect or appreciation for people that are cocky or arrogant. I don't think that's the type of people that I want to be around. That's not how my parents raised me. And I don't believe those are the kind of folks that get the best out of people. People who walk around thinking that they're better than everyone else, that their shit doesn't stink, that they are God's gift to earth, are actually a liability. Those are the folks that have blinders up, who make big mistakes and get people in trouble, and they don't bring out the best in people. So I had no interest in being friends or having a relationship with anyone who was cocky or arrogant. The next one is I didn't like having a relationship with folks who seemed disingenuous. So folks where you could tell they weren't their authentic self. They would say one thing, but their actions would do another. Or they didn't seem like they actually had the best interests of the people around them in mind. So I didn't like being friends or having relationships with those folks. And then the last one, this is a no-brainer. I had zero respect or any interest in having a relationship with someone who treated others with disrespect. If you thought you were better than others and you could walk all over them, talk poorly about them, say mean things, take actions that were disrespectful, I wasn't going to be close to you. I didn't need to have a relationship with you. I don't care if you had all the power. If you were one of those three kind of people, we weren't going to have a relationship. That doesn't mean I didn't treat you with respect or that I didn't respect the authority that you might have, but I wasn't going to have a close relationship. And they say relationships that you build are the most important currency in your career. And my goal was to have relationships that were healthy, mutually beneficial, and rewarding. So my caution to you is be careful on who you get close with. Okay, so we talked about the relationships that you're going to build in your career and how those affect, your success, your future. What I want to do is transition and talk a little bit about building people up and not tearing people down. So this is a big, big way to make sure that in the dynamics within your office, you are seen in the best light. So here are the two things that I really did to make sure that people realized that I was a person that built people up and I didn't tear them down. So number one is I would look for the best in folks. And that's sometimes hard to do, right? You're going to interact with all sorts of folks in your career. Mean folks, nice folks, people that are smart, people that aren't so smart, people that have lots of experience, people that don't have lots of experience, people that are aggressive, people that are not aggressive. You name it, you are going to interact with so many people in your career. And I guarantee you there's going to be a time where you're going to see someone do something that you wouldn't do. Someone's going to make a mistake or do something opposite of how you would do it. And your tendency might be to judge them or worse, talk crap about them to others. My challenge to you is don't do that. Look for the best in folks. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they're having a horrible day. Maybe their boss just yelled at them. You don't know. And even the best of people make mistakes. I can sit here and tell you I make mistakes daily. I was not a perfect leader every single day. I was not a perfect employee every single day. There were lots of times where I made mistakes. And if people were to always judge me for my worst days, gosh, that wouldn't be a good thing for my career or a good thing for my mental health. So look for the best in folks, even when they do things that maybe don't align perfectly with your values or how you view how things should be done. The next one would be recognize the value around you. So open your eyes and find opportunities to recognize folks around you. I did a whole episode about recognition, but it's worth repeating. People are doing amazing and valuable things all over your company. It just takes a few minutes of your time to recognize someone. People don't forget those who lift them up. In fact, they will tell others about it, and they're going to find ways to reciprocate. So imagine you have people all over your organization who know that you lift them up, that you're positive, that you do the best thing for them. They're going to tell that to other people, and who knows who they tell it to, and who knows what room they're in when they say those things. But for me, I always wanted them to have a little bit of kind of like an army around me of people that were singing my praises so that I didn't have to do it. So be known as the person that builds others up. It's going to serve you well in your career more than you can ever imagine. Okay, so we talked about building people up, not tearing them down. Now I want to transition and talk about another topic around office politics. So this one's about sharing information. So you might just think, well, why does that matter, right? And, sharing information, how does that really tie into office politics? And here's how it ties in. There's going to be times where there's information you want people to know, and there's going to be times where there's information that it doesn't help you for people to know. So the first thing I need you to be really careful of is share less information than you think you need to. You've all heard the term less is more. Well, it applies perfectly to office dynamics. You don't want people to know your every move. There's some things that are best played close to the chest. Allow finished results to speak for themselves. You don't want to tell people what you're working on always, right? Examples could be new project ideas, struggles that you're actively working on, right? If you go around telling people about everything that you're working on and all of the struggles that you're working through, maybe that allows them to see you in the wrong light, or maybe they jump to conclusions. So for me, I always wanted to control the narrative. So what I'm not saying is to not be honest, but what I'm saying is don't share everything. Be careful on the things you choose to share. When you think about sharing something, is this going to help me? Are people going to have enough context to approach the situation? And if the answer is no, I probably wouldn't share that. On the same vein of sharing information, speak kindly of people and don't gossip. Having a reputation of being a positive, kind person will always be better than a reputation of being a gossip or negative. If you don't have anything positive to say about someone, bite your tongue. Don't say anything. Take it from a guy who has struggled with this in the past. Okay, I want to transition and talk a little bit about challenges related to office politics. There are going to be some challenges that you're going to face while trying to navigate office politics. You're going to make missteps. Things are not going to be what they seem, and so you're going to go down the wrong path. Here are the top 5 challenges that I've seen in my career, and then I'm going to break down how to overcome them. So the first one is gossip. We talked a little bit about that a second ago. Maybe people are gossiping about you, or worse, maybe you're the one gossiping. Another really common challenge is power struggles. Folks are concerned about getting and maintaining power at all costs. Lack of transparency. Folks aren't sharing the information needed to do the job. Favoritism. Maybe you're not getting selected for new projects, promotions, and instead someone else less qualified is getting those opportunities. Hidden agendas. Sometimes people appear to have one agenda, but in reality it's something totally different. So those are the top 5 ones that I've run into over and over and over in my career. But I want to start with power struggles. So here's how I've overcome power struggles when it relates to office dynamics, office politics. Don't concern yourself with gaining power. Seriously, do not worry about power. Instead, treat people right, work hard, and the power, quote unquote, power or influence will come to you. How I really view power is the ability to influence someone that's forced versus having kind of organic power. It's being able to influence people whether or not you have the title or not, whether or not you have it on paper. And focusing on power and getting more of it is not sustainable, and it's no bueno. I could tell you story after story of people that have chased power around me and that have gotten out of paper. They've gotten the power that they deserved, but then they've looked around and no one respects them. All of their team eventually quits, and what they thought they got was really nothing. It wasn't anything that actually mattered. So power struggles, my thoughts on that is don't worry about power. If you're focused on power, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Focus on creating positive influence and having that influence happen regardless of what your title is. Okay, so lack of transparency. Here's another one. There's going to be times where folks aren't sharing the information that's needed to do the job, and they might not share it for lots of reasons. Could be, they just didn't think about it, or maybe they have really bad intentions and they're trying to not share information so that it can hurt you later. So here's what I've done in the past. I've just really asked the people who are hiding information, hey, I need this. Is there any reason why you can't share this with me? And it's a tough conversation. It's not necessarily going to be fun, but having a tough conversation when you think someone is withholding info is going to be the best bet. Give them the benefit of the doubt and ask for what you need, right? They may own up to it right away and be like, hey, I wasn't sharing that information with you because of XYZ. But if you don't ask, you don't even get the opportunity to get the information. Okay, the next one, favoritism. So there's 2 different things that I've tried in the past to overcome favoritism. Number 1, you can bring that to the light. You can mention that, have another tough conversation with that person and ask for the opportunities that you think you deserve. It could sound something like this. Hey, Tony, I noticed that we've been giving all of the new projects to Carol on the team. I think Carol's awesome, but I'm really feeling like I have more to give. And I'm curious, what can I do to prove to you that you can take a chance on me on the next project or the next initiative? So bringing it to light, having a conversation about it. The next one, it's maybe easier, maybe not, is become so valuable that you're the new favorite, right? Make your boss, department, project leader look amazing. If you are adding tremendous value and it's undeniable, you're going to become the favorite over time. Okay, the next one, hidden agendas. Ask questions, observe, and connect the dots when you think someone has a hidden agenda. People aren't really good at hiding stuff if you're really looking. Their words and their actions won't match. So they'll say one thing, right? They'll say, hey, this is a priority for me, but then their actions don't back that up. Okay, great. That tells me maybe they have an agenda. Maybe they're trying to do something, but they're not saying it. So what I would really recommend in those moments is observe, connect the dots. How does that connect with something else you've seen? How does that connect with what you've heard from other folks? Be careful of hidden agendas because people do have them. But again, ask questions, observe, and a lot of times you can kind of figure out what's really going on. Okay, the last one is gossip. If you're gossiping, I'm going to urge you to stop immediately. Take it from a guy who used to gossip. Early in my career, I actually found out that I had a reputation as a gossip, and it shook me. It held me back. I'm going to actually tell you a story about this in another episode, but at that time, I made a choice to stop gossiping, and I never looked back. If the people around you are gossiping, choose to leave the room, find something nice to say about the other person in question, or call them out for gossiping. Either 3 of those work, but for me, I didn't want to have gossip on my team. If people were around me gossiping, I did my best to not add to that and either excuse myself or change the subject. Again, this one's kind of tough though, because it can be kind of fun to gossip, right? I mean, it can be kind of fun to talk shit about people, but really it's not healthy. And the sad thing is, if you're talking about other people, the people around you are going to realize, hey, maybe they're talking about me when I'm not around. So don't be a gossip, and don't let other folks around you do it. Okay, I'm hoping I gave you a couple things that you can take away with office politics. Office politics are always going to be there. Again, it's those dynamics that are happening with the unspoken things within your company. right? It's power struggles, it's favoritism, it's agendas, it's all of those kind of things. But here's how I view it. Office dynamics are important, and they're important if you pay attention to what matters. Focus on adding value, focus on treating people the right way, focus on building people up, and all of the things that other people are worried about, you won't have to worry about. You're going to rise above. You're not going to be down there in the mud messing around with all that shit. You're going to be focused on what matters, the work and humans, and treating humans the right way. So what I want to do transition now and tell you a little story. So I was working at a Fortune 100 bank as a branch manager, and I was actually stuck at that same branch for a long time, longer than what I wanted. I guess 2 years is not long in the grand scheme of things, but at the time that felt like a long time. And I remember during the time, my old manager actually decided to take on a new job within the company. So we were left without a manager, and our team needed a new one. So the hiring committee, they ended up actually hiring this guy from a competitor, mid-40s, had been in banking for a long time. And I remember they announced him as our new boss, and everyone started talking. Gossip, gossip, gossip. Everyone was worried about, what his leadership style might be, and they were worried about their place and if they were going to get the next promotion. And I remember hearing people talk about all their worries and kind of all the thoughts that were going on about our new boss. But for me, I was always a big believer of kind of just taking action. So I figured, why don't I just reach out to my new boss right when he starts? So I actually sent an email to our new boss, I think on his second day on the job, or maybe it was even his first. And my email was short and simple. I welcomed him to the company. I shared some of the big projects our team was working on. And most importantly, I just kind of offered my support during his transition. What can I do to help? What do you need? I'm your guy. And within an hour of my sent email, I got a response. And my new boss really appreciated me reaching out and offering support. And he said I was actually the only person who had reached out so far. And, from there, he and I started talking more frequently, and I quickly earned his trust. And within 3 months, he had actually put me up for a promotion to a new branch and a big raise. And, at the time, I don't think I was actually any more qualified than the others who were competing with me for that promotion, but I had built a solid relationship with the guy who made the decision, right? And for me, it was all about taking action and building a strategic relationship with someone who had influence. I did the same thing again and again anytime a new senior leader joined my company, and every time it paid off. I would get selected for new projects, I would get special recognition, different opportunities that other folks would get, and it all just came from me proactively reaching out and saying, hey, you're new to the company. What can I do to help? I know this is stressful. Let me take something off your plate. So, moral of the story there, don't sit and wait for stuff to come to you. Don't allow office politics to hold you back. Instead, take action, build a relationship, and go generate it for yourself. All right, so we talked about office politics and dynamics. Sometimes it's hard to fit all of my thoughts and strategies into, a 20 to 30 minute podcast episode. So I'm really excited that as we roll out a newsletter for the podcast, that I can really deep dive even further into these things. And, I want to wrap up with a challenge. So the challenge for you this week is I want you to go around and I want you to try one of the strategies that I mentioned. I want you to proactively try to find something to recognize in your company. Find someone who's doing something cool. Give them a shout out. I want you to go and try to build some relationships with the type of folks that I mentioned, folks that you can teach, folks that you can help. Build relationships with people who have influence, people that you respect. Those are the kind of things that I am confident are going to help you in your career. And it's going to take a little bit of work, and it's going to take you to focus on something other than just the work you're doing. It's going to have you focus on the relationships, but I'm telling you, it's going to pay off. So before we wrap up completely, again, I want to give a little plug. STS Coaching, we are open for business, folks. So check us out, sts-coaching.com, if you want to get serious insights, strategies to level up your career, to take your leadership to the next level, to get paid more money, and really most importantly, to align with your core values. I truly believe all of us have unique skills, unique abilities, something that's different from everyone else. And when we can find a career that taps into that allows us to really thrive, you're going to find fulfillment on a whole new level. So Again, really excited about the launch. Thank you so much for listening. Make it a great day. This has been the Introvert Leader Podcast. Subscribe for new episodes every other Wednesday.